Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Films and Stuff podcast. I'm Ethan, joined, as always, straight from the cinema, most valuable Pete. Hey, Pete, what's up?
Not much, buddy. How are you?
I don't know if we should describe this as an emergency podcast because Fantastic Four First Steps has now been released, and you and I have both seen it.
Exactly. In fact, I literally walked out of the cinema in less than an hour ago.
All right. So we deliberately did this because it's fresh in our minds. Spoiler alerts, of course, for those of you who haven't seen it, if you don't want to get too deep into the outcome or the plot or stuff. But for those of you who have, or those of you who want to hear about it, you and I have not spoken about this with each other. We've been very clear to keep our messages
Decidedly professional.
Exactly. So this is the first time that you and I are going to now disclose what we think of it. And first, let me ask you, how packed was your cinema?
So the reason I watched it on a Friday afternoon rather than my usual Thursday evening or Friday morning, every screening I was trying to get it at was sold out.
Is that possible? Like every single seat?
For practical sake. I mean, look, I didn't want to sit in the very front row.
Yeah, got it. Is it fair to say, for me, Fantastic Four is a little bit confusing because there's been like 3 Fantastic Four movies kind of in the 90s or early 2000s. I think you've told me before that growing up, Fantastic Four was like your number one comic.
Yeah, well, it was the first comic. It holds a special place in my heart.
So it's fair to say that in terms of enthusiasm, the last couple of weeks, we've been pretty busy. We've seen Jurassic World, Superman, Fantastic Four, Formula One. That is the heart of the summer blockbuster season, right?
It really is.
Of the 4 of those, which one were you most excited to see?
Toss up between Superman and Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
For both the same reasons.
Yeah.
Both of those comics hold a special place in my heart, and both of those movies are thematically or symbolically similar in the sense that they're both the start for the next phase of their respective comic book worlds.
Yeah, and actually it's also obvious, but we should say it. It's Marvel versus DC with these 2 big ones. What's your reaction having seen it? What's your knee-jerk reaction?
My knee-jerk reaction was I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to sound worse than it is. I was happy it wasn't bad.
Yeah, you were really nervous about it.
I don't think it was great. I think it was a really safe single or a double in the baseball parlance. I think they weren't swinging for the fences. They weren't trying to make this like a summer. I mean, actually, they would want it to be a summer blockbuster, but like, I don't think they were trying for anything ridiculous. I don't think they were trying for anything crazy, even though you'd think that given that it was Galactus as the bad guy. But I think they played it pretty safe.
Yeah. I mean, a few things about the movie. You don't need to do any homework to understand this movie.
Yes. So that's one of the things I loved about this movie.
Yeah. There's no complicated timeline. Who is this? Who is that? This is a standalone origins film. Don't need to have watched any other Marvel movie, television show, anything else. You can just go in and it's very understandable, shall we say.
Yeah. Like Superman before, it takes place in a world where the heroes are established. We don't have to spend the first third of the movie going through an origin story. They're very good about, hey, this is the setup. We got our powers because of this, and they did it in that, TV show interview style montage or snippet where they were like, here's a quick recap of how they became powerful. Yeah. And they just moved on with it. It was kind of understood. Similar to the way that Clark Kent
Superman.
has the
Yeah.
fake interview with Lois Lane in Superman, where
Yeah.
he's just like, look, I'm very open. I'm an alien. I landed on the planet years ago. I was
Yes.
raised by humans, blah, blah, blah.
Superman and Fantastic Four approached it not entirely copy and paste, but similar in terms of everyone kind of knows these stories one way or another. Let's not try to, do it all over again and waste valuable
Yeah.
screen time.
Yeah.
Let's just give a little bit of exposition. Superman did it, you're right, with kind of like the bullet points at the beginning of the film and then the Lois Lane interview and said, look, you all know kind of like Superman. Let's just dive into the movie.
Exactly.
Same thing with Fantastic Four, which is let's not have this complicated opening scene where they're zapped, when they're in space. Let's just do kind of the exposition. And I thought that in both cases, it worked out quite well.
Yeah. Both movies moved at a good pace. Never did I feel like, oh my God, what's next? It's so slow, like get on with it.
Yeah.
Both movies, whether you agreed with the scenes in any of in either of those movies is irrelevant. I'm just saying that it didn't feel like, oh, this movie is too long or too short.
Yes.
It just got on with it.
I compliment Fantastic Four. You're absolutely right. And I think I kind of had that in my mental notes, but you got to it first. The pacing was fantastic. It just kept the movie flowing, very, very understandable, nothing weird, no complexities to try to understand or decipher. It was just a very enjoyable, well-paced movie that at all times I felt engaged.
Yeah.
I would say better than Superman in the sense that the plot and the storyline are entirely straightforward. I mean, they're not novel, but they're entirely straightforward and understandable.
Yeah. This is where the two movies took diverging tactics.
Yeah.
Superman immediately went with, we're in a shared universe. Let's throw as many characters as we can in there from different properties. Whereas Fantastic Four said, hey, we're Fantastic Four. We're going to make the movie about the four of us. And that's it. We're not worried about, introducing Iron Man or Spider-Man or any of that. In fact, you don't need to know anything except for the fact that it's a Marvel movie. And that worked to its advantage. And of course, they're in a different Earth. This is not the same planet in which Spider-Man exists.
Right.
That we've seen in the MCU before, or Iron Man exists that we've seen. This is just a Fantastic Four movie. We don't need to worry about connecting it to all those different threads.
That's right.
If we want to do that, we'll do that with the mid and post-credit scenes. And in fact, spoiler alert, even the mid and post-credit scenes didn't do that.
Superman is singular, one person. Fantastic Four is four people. So automatically they've got more in the cast. What did you think of the casting of these four folks?
I thought everyone was fantastic. No pun intended. I really thought everyone was good. I was expecting Ben Grimm was kind of like the heart of the family.
Yeah.
But in this, they really made Sue Storm the heart of the family.
Yeah, I also came away with that, which is more than anything, this is a Vanessa Kirby movie. They really made it the homage to Sue Storm more than Reed Richards. And certainly Ben Grimm and Johnny Storm took a very big backseat.
Oh, 100%.
Having known the casting in advance, I was pretty neutral on it. I mean, Pedro Pascal is hot in Hollywood right now, so it makes sense to have him as Reed Richards, although I don't think that's a really natural choice for a lot of reasons, including age. I mean, he is scientific, so that makes sense. But just in terms of if this is going to go on for the next 15 years, like Marvel does, he's going to be an older gentleman at that point. I thought Vanessa Kirby was a good choice. She's obviously got Hollywood cred. Eben Moss, obviously, he's hot from The Bear. Joseph Quinn, he's known for Stranger Things and some other stuff. I thought that he was not a super compelling Johnny Storm. I did like the fact that this Johnny Storm is a little bit more demure than some of the previous Johnny Storms, which are just kind of like totally out of control in terms of like arrogance and
Yeah.
charisma. He played it, I think, much better. But I would say, like, in terms of remembering him, he was kind of forgettable. I thought there was genuine chemistry between the four of them. Like, this is a little bit like Fast and Furious, all about family, right? That's kind of what the Fantastic Four is known for, is, they're the natural family of Marvel, right? And I thought that, frankly, the four of them really came off in that way. Like, there seemed to be genuine chemistry. You felt something between Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby. Ben Grimm, I thought, not a large role, and you barely saw his real face, but definitely, he had character in it. I thought that overall it was very well cast, but again, I think it was a little bit like let me put it this way. We talked about last week, in fact, how our summer predictees are, and I had Fantastic Four as number one. I thought that was going to be the number one movie this summer. I no longer feel that way.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be a bomb, but I don't feel that it had enough horsepower to propel it top
No, I'm with you.
three.
I think what this movie did, again, because it played it safe, I think this was just Marvel saying, hey, you know what? Let's focus on righting the ship. The last 5-10 movies have not performed as well as we'd like. Thunderbolts underperformed, but was critically well received.
Yep.
And I think this film is going to be both critically and commercially well received, but again, not like in a smash hit sense.
No, it's
like
not a
Superman,
billion-dollar movie.
I think it'll do well, but I think it'll do well in the sense that people who are going to walk away from this movie are going to say, you know what? That's not a bad Marvel movie. Which at this point, for the MCU as a whole, is exactly what they need. Is they need people to say, yeah, that wasn't amazing, but it wasn't bad. And that's what I meant, was that at least, my first instinct or my first thoughts coming out of the cinema was, I'm just glad it wasn't a bad film. And that's what this is.
No, it definitely was. Like I said, I thought the pacing was fantastic. At no point, and I cannot say this during Superman, at no point was I watching a scene where I'm like, all right, get on with it already.
Yeah.
Like, move on to the next scene. I was never annoyed by a character, bored by a character, in disbelief over the silliness of it. That being said, in terms of creativity, where does Galactus fall and kind of the big bad in this movie? How do you feel about that?
Julia Gardner is awesome. She's a great actor.
Fantastic, right?
But as Silver Surfer was kind of meh. And
I thought she was a great Silver Surfer. I just felt that.
I agree. I'm not saying she was bad. I'm just saying that as a quote unquote bad guy. Neither of those two villains kind of made me feel anything. I didn't think they were bad. I just didn't think they were exceptional. I did like the plan. I did like how that plan went out. I thought the action sequences in this movie were not good. I don't think there were enough, or at least the ones that were there, I don't think really did anything for me.
I'm going to agree with you, but I'm not on your side. Let me put it that way. I agree with you that the action sequences are certainly not anything like you'll remember forever. I hope that's intentional because, frankly, we've seen so many bonkers CGI action battle scenes that for me personally, it's just kind of yawn. And I feel like the more complex you make them, such as The Flash or Transformers, the more they kind of turn people off. And I feel like getting away from that ultra CGI, everything's kind of like shifting all at the same time, is intentionally aimed at audiences that were kind of having the same reaction with me, which is, yawn, do I really need another 10-minute CGI fight sequence that probably cost $50 million to fabricate, and I'm getting nothing out of it. So I think that actually the more live action you can do, or the more realistic stuff. And to be honest, I'm not going to this movie for action. I mean, this is not my Michael Bay film. I'm going to see my characters. I want to laugh a little bit. I want to see a good story and something clever. I hope that's intentional, but I take your point, which is none of the action sequences really stuck out in my mind.
Look, at the end of the day, I know this isn't a Michael Bay movie, but it is a superhero movie. You want something to stick out in terms of action. I agree with you, and I totally get what you're saying. You don't want it to be so over the top that it's kind of like, what am I watching here? It's just visual effects vomit on the screen. But this had very little. In reality, there were 2 sequences, maybe 3. One was with the fight scene with Galactus at the end. One was when they first meet Galactus inside the ship where they're trying to run away. And the third is, you might consider the montage sequences that they had at the very beginning of the movie when they're fighting Mole Man. That's kind of it. But nothing stood out.
If I had to pick a point to be critical about, the last kind of fight scene with Galactus, I thought was really a letdown. This is a guy that devoured the earth. Like, I feel like he could have done it, but instead there's a strange thing about the baby and this particular baby, and he's kind of walking through Manhattan, and then Sue Storm summoning all her maternal power, kind of pushes him back and saps her own strength. I mean, I was kind of like ho-hum about that, to be honest. In that sense, I agree with your point, which is if there's a climax and a battle, then come on, give me a good battle. But kind of, I just felt the whole thing like at no point did I think Sue Storm died. And at no point, to be honest, did I really think that Galactus, who's kind of he's not Thanos, but in a similar vein, did I think that Sue Storm could just like take him on? So, that was something, but I'm picking nits a little bit, but overall, I thought it was a very enjoyable film. Didn't dislike anybody. Decent amount of levity. I mean, okay, I'm definitely looking forward to the next one, but not like tongue wagging, checking online, like when is it going to be released? Who's going to be in it? What's being, like disclosed so far? It was definitely good. And like I said, I definitely overestimated the blockbuster-ish of this movie. I mean, I can't see this being $1 billion movie. I cannot see it overtaking. If it was number 3 with like 600 million, I think Marvel would be like, okay, that's a pretty good outcome.
Yeah.
I don't see it being much more than that.
What did you think of The World? What did you think of Earth 828?
I liked it. I mean, I thought actually it was something different. I like that 50s or 60s vibe.
Yeah.
I like the vibe. I thought they pulled it off really well. I know I've read a few things that it kind of like compared to the Jetsons. It's not really that. They were analog, but had like some good technology. I overall liked the style, and I thought it was really refreshing, and I thought they pulled it off well, from the clothing to the furnishing. I thought it was a really good way to, kind of distinguish them. So I was happy with it all the way around.
Yeah, I loved it. I think visually it stood out because everything we've seen in the MCU so far has been very much real world.
Yeah.
By that, I mean, it feels contemporary to what we live in now. So I like that this took a very different tact. I thought it felt nice. It felt quaint almost, that, everyone was rallying around this family. I thought it was a nice change of pace. Did you stick around for the mid-credits and the end credits?
I did not. Do you want to give me the spoilers?
Oh, dun, dun, dun. Okay.
Tell me.
I'll start with the end credits. The end credits was just a cartoon trailer of the Fantastic Four in that old 80s style cartoon. Okay. So it was kind of cute. Yeah. The mid-credit sequence was kind of interesting. The mid-credit sequence takes place 4 years later.
Okay.
And you see Sue Storm with her toddler, I guess now young boy, Franklin. They're sitting in the living room, and she goes away to the kitchen to pick up something and comes back. And when she does, all you see is a man in a green cloak hovering over Franklin Richards. But you don't know anything else. But obviously, that's Dr. Doom.
Yeah, it's got to be Dr. Doom, right?
And let me tell you, when that scene came up on the screen everybody in the cinema lost their minds.
Really?
People were hooting and hollering.
Wow, really? What a great environment.
I was shocked because I instinctively knew that it was Doctor Doom. And, perhaps this is me also being, I don't want to sound arrogant, but maybe I was just like, oh, well, obviously I know more. But like I underestimated how well connected the Indian audience is with the MCU and with the idea of the MCU and with what's going on. But people were absolutely losing their mind.
Wow.
So there were two scenes that made people go crazy. One was that Doctor Doom reveal. And the second thing was that sequence when Johnny Storm is about to say, all right, well, tell my nephew I love him.
Yeah.
And we thought that he was going to go into that portal. But then out of nowhere, the Silver Surfer comes in, kicks his ass, and she's the one who kind of takes him out. People lost their minds in the cinema.
I have to say, I kind of like the Silver Surfer as the bad guy. Sometimes I like it when the villain just kind of like remains a villain, and they don't always have like this change of heart, right?
But this is comic book stuff.
Yeah.
So the Silver Surfer was never really a bad guy.
Yeah.
He just was forced into being a hero.
I don't have much else to say about the film. I mean, again, it was really enjoyable. One thing that I told my brother, because we use him kind of as a proxy, and I said, look, I saw Fantastic Four last night. I said, it's very good and you will like it because it's kind of got like a more linear narrative. In terms of which movie I had more of an emotional connection to, it was Superman.
Oh, yeah.
Like I felt there were times in Superman, like I felt the music was a little bit more motivational. I thought the character Superman was more heroic than I felt about the Fantastic Four. Definitely the Fantastic Four, I absolutely felt the love. Like I really felt chemistry and that they were a family that absolutely came through. But I never really felt kind of like bonded to them. Whereas I really felt kind of something for Superman. And I think that's really due to James Gunn and how he cast and wrote and directed Superman. Although, like if I watched Superman again, there would be scenes that I would absolutely walk out of and go get a popcorn. Whereas Fantastic Four, there wasn't really any scene that I'd be like, well, I'll just skip this scene. Like I kind of liked everything. I liked the addition of Herbie. I liked that movie start to finish. There was no part of it that I was like trying to get like rushing to get over. And I couldn't say the same thing for Superman, but as a character, I really like Superman. And as the musical score, I felt like my heart rate went up at times as well.
Agreed. So what's your rating on this? I mean, I feel like I know what it is, but
I gave it a wait for streaming. Like I said, I've had only complimentary things for the film, but you can live without seeing this opening weekend in the cinemas. You're really not going to be out of step with pop culture. You're not going to lose any dramatic spoilers. Watch it on an airplane. Watch it when it comes out. You'll be okay. We have to draw the line somewhere, but for me, this is a wait for streaming, which I don't mean in a bad way. That's still complimentary, but it's not must see in cinemas. And sometimes we say, look, this movie wasn't great, but you've got to see it in a cinema for these reasons. This movie, I think, is better than some other movies that you have to see in a cinema, but it's not going to be a timeless classic.
I'm 100% with you. It's a good movie, but there's nothing in it that warrants having to see it on the big screen.
Yeah.
And because it's a self-contained, it is MCU, but in the sense that it's not connected to any of the other movies that way at the moment.
Yep.
You can watch it at your leisure.
Yeah. Pete, I really enjoyed doing this episode with you. I thought it was good that we didn't discuss it in advance. And, when I came out of the cinema, I'm always inclined to give you my knee-jerk reaction just because it's fun. And I know that you get enthusiastic about it just like I am. But in this case, I knew what you were going to say as well, which was because you were worried that it was going to be a bomb or a flop. I thought that you'd come out of it and be like, yeah, that was pretty good. Happy that it was safe and down the middle, very enjoyable and pleasant, but certainly didn't rewrite the future of Marvel in any way.
Absolutely not. I agree.
All right, Pete, I expect we're going to have a lot of feedback. Can you read off our social media, YouTube creds so people can contact us, like, launch, agree, disagree, and so forth?
Yeah, absolutely. Leave a comment below, like this video, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. We really want to know what you thought of this movie.
Could not have said it better myself. Pete, thank you for a semi-emergency episode. Listeners, thank you for loyally turning in and listening to us on this pre-Films and Stuff weekend episode. We will see you next week, same time, Films and Stuff podcast. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Ethan. Thanks, everyone.
Bye now.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.